Good evening. Tonight we are going to discuss wearing ritual robes or choosing what to wear when you are practicing your magic. Many Wiccans, witches, and pagans work robed. Sometimes it's because robes have magical significance, or because it is simply too cold to work skyclad. I've been there. I prefer to work robed these days. I did experiment with skyclad. But I also like to be able to work outside, so skyclad isn't an option for me for most of the year anyway. So sometimes you choose what works for you. Sometimes you choose what makes you most comfortable. The easiest style of robe to make is actually a T-shaped robe. A robe that is essentially goes across the body, out your arm, back, and down. Very straight, no curves, not difficult. Long sleeves, and sometimes a hood. The robe should be loose enough to allow for movement and dancing and partying and sitting down on the ground, and you should be able to move well in it. It should not be overly tight. So make sure you're wearing something loose enough that you're comfortable. The sleeves shouldn't be too long or too wide because remember, many witches, pagans, and Wiccans work with candles on a regular basis. You may not want to be dragging this kind of sleeve through candles if you are not entirely practiced in it. I've gotten really good at keeping my draping sleeves out of candles. That's why they part and fall down near my elbow. It's so I can reach over my candles and not have this immediately in the fire. So plan ahead so you don't accidentally light yourself on fire. It's not a good plan. A large hood is a good idea, but it's not necessary. This one doesn't have a hood, and that's all right. But a hood can be used to block outer vision, aiding in visualization and meditation. But it's not required, and it doesn't work for everyone. If you don't like having a hood, get a robe or make a robe without one. You can also be really elaborate if you like. You don't have to go with the basic T-shaped robe. You can go with something much more fancy. Check your local fabric store for different patterns you can explore. Often they're in the costume section, but a costume pattern can be changed into a much more durable pattern if you simply use better fabric. The only limit really is your imagination and possibly cost. When choosing fabric, pick something that feels good against your skin, for the robe might be worn for long periods of time if you tend to practice longer workings. Look for a breathable fabric such as cotton because you don't want to get hot. So think about your climate, where you live, and pick your fabrics accordingly. Color, well, that is entirely up to you, unless you're part of a group that specifies. There can be a lot of power in the color you choose. For those who are working solitary, like I do these days, I used to be in groups, but these days not so much. But if you do work by yourself, well, you can pick any color you like. You want a bright fluorescent pink robe? Wear one. There's nothing wrong with that if that's what makes you feel comfortable. Find something that works for you, that feels healing and balancing and empowering. If fluorescent pink works for you and makes you feel powerful and safe, then that's the color for you. It doesn't matter. If you can't decide, pick either white or black. They both have their benefits. Many people opt for white until or unless they are fully initiated, then they switch to black. But that is neither here nor there. You can pick what you like. If you really like working in white or you really like working in black, do that. Most people do choose black, but that's more out of tradition than it works for them. So really focus on what is going to work for you. Some groups will have everyone in black from Samhain to Beltane, and then they will have everyone in white from Beltane to Samhain. That is one way to do it, the light and dark halves of the year, so you can do that if that is something that appeals to you. You could wear a different color from festival to festival, so perhaps you want to wear black from Samhain to Yule, and then you want to switch to a vibrant green, and then you want, by Imbolg, you want to switch to a red. That is entirely up to you. You can completely dress seasonally. You can choose your color based on your mood. If you're working alone, I would start with a white robe that you can decorate as you see fit. And if you're working alone, you don't even necessarily have to pick a robe. You have a pretty dress you like? Do you want to wear a suit? Do you want to dress like a medieval knight? That is entirely up to you. I wouldn't recommend the medieval knight. Armor tends to be, as someone who has LARPed many times in her history, armor's heavy. So maybe not that. But you can choose something that works for you. If it's a little bit costumey, who cares? You're working by yourself. It makes you feel confident. It makes you feel happy. It connects you to your practice in a way. Then it works for you. Experiment a little. Perhaps you want to change up your look every month, every week, every day. That's all right. You can also decide, I'd rather practice in jeans and a t-shirt. That's okay. Whatever works for you is proper and the right choice. Unless you're working with a group who requires a certain dress code. So you might be in a group where all of you wear black all of the time. That's all right. But if you're not a member of a group, you get to choose. You don't get to tell anyone else, and they don't get to tell you, that you can't wear that hot pink ritual robe that you made and decorated with green and purple paint. You can do that. So pick what works for you, what aesthetic works for you, as long as you're not focused only on that aesthetic, and as long as the robe is working for you, then it works. When I first started, I just wore a dress that my grandma had made. And obviously later I grew and didn't fit it anymore. And then I wore a dress that I wore to my aunt's wedding. And after that, I transitioned into a dress I wore at my sister's wedding. It was a while. In this time, I was also a member of groups, so I did have a black ritual robe. But it was a while before I settled on what I like. I like this sparkly purple with a black lace overlay. That's what I like. So that's what I wear. It makes me comfortable and confident and happy. So you should be picking something that works for you. There are a lot of options out there. So take a look at what your choices are. Start with maybe just a white robe or a black robe and see how you feel about that. But maybe just go through your closet and see what you've got. And again, if you want to practice in jeans and a t-shirt, there's nothing wrong with that. There are a few chickens and a turkey who don't want to be quiet right now. But that's all right. But that is going to be it for us here today at Aislin's Enchanted Path. I hope I've given you some ideas for what you might or might not wear during your own ritual or spellcraft. Blessed be.